Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here again with you. Lunchtime training. The topic today is working with buyers during COVID restrictions. And the topics we're going to talk about today is MLS access and lockbox key enough, the selling process start to finish, earning buyers' loyalty, the buyer consultation and how important it is, especially at this time. Who is the buyer of today? What is your unique selling proposition? And what are buyers looking for in an agent? So with these topics, I think we are going to be having a very good class today, and I really hope you enjoy it. If at any time during the class you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please remember that you can chat and I will be able to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. If you watch this afterwards and you have any questions, you can always email me at my email address, dianabustamante@realtyexecutives.com. So what is happening right now with the new normal? In the new normal, we have to have masks available for ourselves, but also in many cases for our clients. I have been to showing appointments where the buyers forgot to bring their mask with them, and in an effort not to be late or not show up, they just showed up without a mask. The good thing is that I had extra masks available, which I have in a Ziploc bag in my car, always available. I have bags of gloves and of course disinfecting wipes. I have made it a particular process in my showings that I take out a disinfecting wipe to wipe down the lockbox key, the lockbox, the key inside of the lockbox, and then also the door knob. Before I leave, I also wipe down the, anything that I have touched. In most cases, it has been recommended that if there's an occupant in the property, that they not be there. And I have found properties where the tenants were there or the owners were there, they were not wearing masks. So by us walking in wearing masks, we're not only protecting them, but also ourselves. So it is a good practice to have all of these different things available in your car, just in case you need additional masks, and of course disinfecting wipes so that you can wipe things down. The NAR, the National Association of Realtors, has made available for us, and you can find this on realtor.org, the preparedness plan for relating to COVID-19 for offices as well as for agents. And there are a lot of questions that are being circulated around through the National Association as far as how we as real estate professionals can continue to work with our clients and serve our members, our clients, our buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants, and still remain safe and follow the protocols that have been established. If you need a copy of this, you can get it through nar.realtor/COVID-19, and you will be able to find the entire package. But what I did was I took down the most important guidelines, especially for real estate professionals, and how to prevent any cases from us being responsible for being the cause of the virus to be spread. The general guidelines have been to wash our hands frequently, to avoid touching ourselves, eyes, nose, mouth, to practice social distancing, to cover our mouth, obviously with a mask or some kind of covering, to avoid contact with anyone who has been sick or who has traveled to areas that have high contamination of the virus. That if we feel that we are sick, we don't feel good, either with a fever, cough, or shortness of breath, to stay home and not try to contain the virus and to clean, disinfect anything that we touch. That's why I always have my disinfecting wipes with me. And to always cough and sneeze into your sleeve, or better yet, a tissue that you are able to throw away safely. The guidance for fair housing compliance during this pandemic is very important for us to keep in mind, because we play a very important role in helping people not only find homes, but also those people that we represent as their listing agent, to help them be able to move on and sell their property. But there are many concerns and many questions that are being circulated around. One of them, it has to do with anti-discrimination laws and whether they apply. And absolutely they apply, not only at the federal level, but also at the state level. We, during the pandemic, remain obligated to treat people equally, to not discriminate based on any of the protected classes, which now includes disability and whether someone has contracted the virus or may have been in contact with someone with the virus. So we have to be very aware of these obligations that we have. Are individuals who have COVID-19 covered under the Federal Fair Housing Act? And that is an absolute and total yes. They are covered, and they deserve the same attention and care and service as anyone else in this country. Anyone who has any additional questions about this, and I encourage you all to download from NAR. If you cannot find it or you're having trouble logging into the nar.realtor website, let me know, send me an email, and I will send you the package so you can have it available. Now, obviously, this is so new that there have not been any cases that have gone to court, but it is always best to err on caution, on too much caution. And we need to be reminded that we have to treat everybody the same way. The same way we treat one client, we have to treat all our clients in order to not be stuck in court in the future. Can I ask someone if they have been diagnosed with the virus or if they have had known or potential exposure? And our anti-discrimination laws generally prohibit questions about a person's disability, but because this virus is so widespread and very highly contagious and very dangerous for many individuals, there has been federal guidance in which if we ask the question, we have to ask everybody the same questions. Again, we have to treat everybody in the same way. We are allowed to request individuals to self-disclose information about their status when it comes to the virus, either verbally or in writing. As you may have noticed in trying to show properties, there are many agents that are who are including the COVID-19 addendum and disclosure document in order to be signed by the buyers before the property can be shown, before you can even get an appointment. And it becomes crazy. Let's say you have 10 buyers and you're going to show each buyer 5 homes. You have to download 50 forms and have the buyers sign all these forms. And in my opinion, it is very crazy. I'm sorry, Sonia can't hear me. Can anybody else hear me besides Sonia? I just want to make sure before I go any further. I seem to be fading in and out. So I am just hoping the audio was working before. Just want to make. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we are all very aware of our obligation and making sure that our practices are the same with everybody. If you ask one person, you have to ask everyone you come in contact if you are having any issues or concerns about whether people you come in contact with are have been exposed to the virus. So as far as being compliant with the Fair Housing Act, we need to make sure that the same procedure is followed with everybody. Now, when we, like I was saying before, what I have started doing is when I speak with a buyer and they have an interest in looking at a property or properties, I send them or bring with me. I actually printed a bunch of copies and I have them available in my car. Some agents are asking for the form to be provided to them by email before setting up an appointment. But like I was saying before, it is crazy when you have to print 5, 10 different copies for the different properties you are going to be showing for every single buyer. So what I have done is, and it might be a good practice, to have the client upfront the same way we ask them about whether they have been pre-approved for the mortgage loan and ask them certain questions. I let them know upfront that they need to sign the form upfront and disclose whether they have been in contact with anyone with the virus, or if they have traveled outside of the area, and especially if they've gone to areas that are very highly contagious or have major problems. And also I explained to them that this is something that the listing agent is probably going to request, so that we have that up front. So I have one form which I actually upload to either my phone or my computer. And then when the agent requesting this document says, you need to send the document over, I already have it ready and I can send it to multiple agents at the same time. I have found it to be much easier. Even though it doesn't have the specific address of the property, it has my client's information on it. Now, here's another question that is going around, which is, may I restrict children from attending in-person showings? And the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on familial status and any restrictions on children and families with children. However, it is possible to ask that a limited number of people visit the property at the same time. And that includes families with children. If last week I went to show a property and it was a husband and the wife and 2 children, And I said, look, the listing agent is restricting the showing to only people who are decision makers. And I let them know up front. In situations like that, we can take turns, and one, maybe the husband stays in the car while the wife goes to take a look at the property with me, and then we can switch. We have to be adaptable. We have to make changes to the way we have done things in the past, because we need to make sure we follow the instructions, not only of the agent, but also of the seller and their desires. If the property is vacant, it is much easier to deal with the situation. But if the property is occupied, we really need to make sure that we follow the protocols and the requirements that the listing agent and the seller have put in place. So even though we cannot say, well, children are not allowed to enter the property, we can restrict the number of people who can look at the property at any given time. The property, one of the properties I was showing last week, there was a line outside the door. The property had just come on the market, and there was a line of people outside. The good thing is it was empty, it was vacant, so it was easier to show. But we need to prepare our clients, our buyers, before we actually meet with them, in order to make sure they are prepared for what is requested of them. Now, am I obligated to assist or show or provide housing to someone who has or may have COVID-19? Again, we as realtors remain obligated to provide the same level of service to anyone and everyone, regardless of their disability. You have to remember that having contracted COVID-19 falls under the same umbrella as having a disability, or it's the same as someone who has had AIDS. We do have to take into consideration the fact that because this is highly contagious, we have to make sure that we take precautions in order to make sure we are not exposing ourselves and also other people around us. So if somebody has had contracted COVID-19, we need to let them know that they have to have been without the symptoms for at least 14 days before we actually meet with them and show them the property. And that it just makes sense as far as healthy hazards for ourselves and also for the property owner. And we have to make reasonable accommodations in order to make sure people are being serviced. So somebody, let's say, has COVID-19, they're in the middle of the process of it. So they contracted it last week, 14 days have not passed. We can offer to do a showing, a virtual showing, and that would constitute reasonable accommodation. That would be where you can say, look, I can go to the property and take pictures, or send them the video, or a virtual tour of the property, in order to let them know that, you know, what the property looks like. You can also go there and do a showing on your phone, where you can actually be talking to them on the phone and showing them the property through your camera on your phone and talking through the property. And this would be considered reasonable accommodation. There is also a possibility of including an addendum to the offer, in case they want to make an offer and they have not had a chance to take a look at it, in which it includes that the offer is contingent upon a later in-person visit. You know, and this is especially important because there are so many multiple offer situations right now that if the client wants to make an offer, even though they have not stepped foot inside of it, this gives them still the opportunity to present their offer and still be protected, and giving them the opportunity that to take a look at it. Or they can send someone that they trust or they know in their place as a proxy, like their mother, their sister, their friend. Okay, so what happens if the reasonable accommodation that you offer to them is rejected? Okay, so the reasonable accommodation framework, as is stated by NAR in the guidelines, is an interactive one. If they do not like what you proposed, then you can ask the buyer, what do you propose, Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Buyer? If the individual offers an alternative solution that is reasonable in light of the circumstances, and it also helps them mitigate their concerns, as long as it doesn't cause any harm to either the real estate professional or the seller, then that would be acceptable. It's just, we need to keep people in communication and giving them options and asking for their options that they would propose. What general safety precautions should we take when providing services? Obviously, requiring people involved in the transaction to wear a face mask. And if they don't have one, like what happened to me a couple of weeks ago, where I went to a showing and one of the buyers had it, but the other one didn't have, I had additional face masks that I bought a box of 100 for like $20, and just have them available. And we need to make sure that if the property is occupied and the client insists on looking at it, that is something we cannot control if the tenant or the owner does not want any showings. Asking individuals to view or take a look at the apartments or houses one at a time, and that is not very restrictive unless you find yourself where there's a line of 30 people outside wanting to look at that property. Asking individuals to maintain 6 feet apart from each other and to not touch any surfaces. That is why I have made it a practice to walk around with my can of disinfecting wipes and making sure that I'm cleaning anything, but I do tell them, please don't touch anything. Any doors that are closed, I will open them, and I open them with my disinfecting wipes, ensuring that surfaces are clean and thoroughly, and obviously, if at all possible, doing virtual showings. Now, there is an addendum for that is available, especially when we are presenting an offer. This is available through zip forms, and it is fillable, and it gives both the buyer and the seller an opportunity to automatically extend the closing date in the event there is a situation happening with the COVID-19 virus. Let's say during the transaction, the seller contracts the virus or the buyer contracts the virus. Rather than having a total dead deal, this addendum, which is now part of your sales contract, gives them the opportunity. And if you do not fill in the box, and the box I'm talking about is right here, if you do not fill that out, it becomes 30 days. It becomes a 30-day no extension. So if you want to restrict it and make it 15 days or 20 days, you can do that in that box. If there are any other contingencies when it comes to, maybe having to do with the inspection or when the inspections can happen, this can be included under number 3, which is other. So this has to become part of our arsenal for showings. Disinfecting wipes, the gloves, the mask, they're just part of what we need to take with us when we go out on showings. When it comes to the actual form that needs to be signed, this is where, if we have this signed up front, we can actually leave the address blank and then fill in the address if the listing agent insists on having the address on there. But so far, I have not had any agent, even when they have their own form, which has the property address, I have not had any agent not give me the appointment because the address was not there, as long as it is signed by the buyer. Now, this is available through our office, home buying services that are available for virtual showings or for when we're talking to buyers. And this is something that we can actually start practicing, offering our clients virtual appointments, offering to give them alerts for listings that come on the market. Obviously, we always had that available through the MLS. Virtual home tours. This is where I was saying before, you can actually go to the property and have the client on the phone where you are actually doing either a dual conversation or through FaceTime or anything like that, where you're actually walking through the property and showing what the property looks like to the buyer. Obviously, signing online is something we've always had, which is through zip forms. And then delivery of funds, a lot of title companies are offering the ability of buyers to be able to send their funds in electronic form. We do need to warn them about not sending any wire transfers to anyone unless they have been they have confirmed with the title company or their attorney. And the home inspections also is a major part of the service we provide to our buyers. But again, we in a situation of the home inspection, it is always recommended to have at least one of the buyers be present, as long as they do have their covering. And then obviously the closings are more restrictive. Title companies and attorneys are asking that less people go to the closing. I have not attended any closing in person except for one since this whole situation started. I have gone to pick up my check or had the check delivered. But things are changing, and we just need to be aware of what we need to do and be prepared to explain to our clients. Now, this form, which is available through our prime agent, is, I don't know if you can see, but I have my name and my cell phone number and my email address on it. You can actually customize it for yourself and send an email to your clients when you first meet them by phone. So let's talk about the purchase process. It's still the same way. We have to choose to work with the buyer, and the buyer has to choose to work with us. When that happens, we have to explain to them how things have changed from the way we used to do things in the past. We do need to confirm their ability to purchase, because we, especially now, do not want to be running around with unqualified buyers. We have to choose the properties we are going to show them, and especially at this time when there are so many multiple offer situations, we have to choose the ones that really meet their criteria, and then decide how they are going to be taking a look at these properties. And then we have to let people know that they don't have time to go home and think about it over the weekend. If they like a property, they have to be prepared, ready, willing, and able to make an offer so we can start negotiating on their behalf. And then obviously, if our offer is accepted, we can take them to the closing table after all of the different things that happen in between have been completed. So we have to explain this to them because we don't have time to waste right now. Now, how do we earn their loyalty? Is we have to show them value. Why should they work with us compared to somebody else? We have to show value up front. So if we educate our buyers up front, we are showing value, and we are showing them that we actually have their interest at heart. We have to make an emotional connection up front with them. People do business with people they like and they trust and they get to know. So we have to do that and try to establish that. And a lot of times in the past, we would ask people to meet us at the office. We would have a conversation with them face to face. Now everything is behind a mask, or by phone, or by FaceTime. But we still have an opportunity to make that connection with them. And we also need to set the right tone and expectations. We cannot waste time with people who are not qualified, with people who refuse to look at the property when they become available. We have an obligation to educate them, and especially how to deal with the purchase process at this time. We also have to anticipate their objections. That is why having a pre-showing consultation with them can really bring all of those objections to light, and we have to listen to them. And a lot of times we talk more than we listen. We have to be aware that it is the buyer who needs to make the decision whether they want to live in a particular area or in a particular property. So when we ask them questions, we have to listen to their answers and work with them to find what is best for them. And then another thing, number 7, is we have to try to over-deliver. Try to over-deliver on what their expectation is of the service that we are going to provide to them. So in the buyer's consultation, we are able to form a productive business relationship, and this gives us an opportunity to offer and show them the value proposition that we have. The same way we work with sellers in providing a marketing plan, our marketing services, we can do the same thing for our buyers in our buyer's consultation or counseling session. They have to see that we bring value to the table, and that they would be crazy to be going out and trying to buy a property on their own or trying to find properties online. There is so much information online that is incorrect, that is inaccurate. We have to be the trusted filter for all of the information that is available, so that we can provide also the most up-to-date and latest data that is available. A good time also to get to know the buyer on a deeper level, which is to ask them, okay, I want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Okay, why? Okay, how many people are in your family? I was talking to someone the other day and they want 3 bedrooms. Okay, that's fine. But there are 6 people in their family. So I wanted to find out the dynamic of the family. How is this going to work? And we ended up increasing the minimum number of bedrooms we're looking at to either 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms plus an additional room that can be used as an additional bedroom. But I wouldn't have known that unless I really asked why. Okay, what is the situation you're in? How is your family dynamic? Situations about where they work and how far they work or how much time they spend commuting. This is the opportunity to get to really know them and what is most important to them. And in the buyer's consultation, like I said before, we have to set the expectations, what we expect from them, as well as what they can expect from us. Especially at this time also, we have to think outside of the box or outside of the MLS. There are a lot of for sale by owners I'm finding out there. And if we limit our search criteria to only the multiple listing service, we are going to be missing out on a lot of opportunities to find properties that are not listed. Also, use our network and resources, our company. I hope you all have had a chance to join our exclusive Realty Executives Facebook group, where we may post properties that have not come in the market yet, that we are maybe looking or coming soon, and look at properties that may not be there. Or if we wait until they reach the MLS, there's going to be so much competition that we may miss out on something. Our job and obligation is to educate the buyer and let them know what we bring to the table, to let them know that we verify the information, that we represent their interests, that we negotiate on their behalf, and that we deliver the results that they expect or need in the transaction. But they're not going to know that unless we actually let them know that is what we're doing for them. We also have to be aware that the buyers are out there also interviewing other agents. We would be naive to think that a buyer has only had exposure to just us, just one agent. Okay, they may have been working or looking at properties with other agents. They may also be Googling us. So we need to make sure that our professional identity is showing up in the right places online. Buyers are also asking people they know for recommendations. And they do not know what our agency obligations are unless we have an agency discussion about that. And I know that there are a lot of agents that do not use their buyer agency agreement, but this is a good time to review it, take it out and review it, and see if you can incorporate it into the new way of working with buyers, especially at this time. You also want to tell buyers that you adhere to a code of ethics and talk about your credentials, because unless you are all over the internet and you have promoted that to them, to the world, they're not going to know what your credentials are and why you are different than other agents or why they should choose you. So who is the buyer of today? This I took out of the 2019 survey of buyers and sellers that is available through NAR at realtor.org or nar.realtor. And first-time home buyers are still a big number of the buyers available, okay, in the market. First-time home buyers do not know what to expect unless we let them know how the buying process works. The typical buyer was 47 years old with household income of about $93,000. Now, 12% of these buyers are purchasing multi-generational homes. Like the example I told you before about the buyer that is looking for 3-bedroom where they have 6 family members. But by asking them questions, I found out that grandma lives with them. Okay, so it's the parents, the children, and then there's grandma. So these are multi-generational homes where people are either taking care of aging parents or adult children are moving back home because some people can't afford to live where they're living. They may have lost their job. So, you know, if they are going to be buying a home with several people in their family, we need to be aware of these things and what their needs are going to be, not just now, but in a couple of years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. You are the advisor. They're depending on you to help them navigate through what sometimes they may not know they need in the future. Okay. 20% of home buyers were veterans and 3% were active duty service members. And that is the type of buyer who may not be there to look at the property in person, where you may have to be doing, because they may be off somewhere else and you're showing the property to only maybe the spouse, and you have to be aware and have the tools necessary. So the properties that these buyers have purchased in the past year, most home buyers, or 39%, are looking to avoid renovations and problems with plumbing and electricity. And buyers who purchased previously owned homes were most often considering a better overall value at 33%. So how can we help a buyer who, most of them are first-time home buyers, probably not very handy, who don't want to have any problems with renovations? One of the things that we have available is to include the home warranty in the offer. When we include that, we are showing them that we really care about them and that we are anticipating possible problems that could come up for the first year that they are in the property. Not using it is basically a disservice to our clients. Now, we have to be aware that prices are increasing. They have been increasing. Properties are selling with multiple offers for higher than asking price in most of our markets, and we need to prepare the buyer for that. Okay. Another thing that I want to talk about is the search process. 44% of recent buyers, the first step that they took was to look online at properties for sale. Well, 16% contacted the real estate agent first. So if they're looking online, the majority are looking online, you know that some of the properties they're looking at are no longer available. That's why in the first consultation, we have to let them know that we can set them up on an automatic email system that gives them the opportunity to look at the properties that are actually available. When they start sending you properties all the time, I'll tell you right now, it drives me crazy. They're sending me, there was a client that sent me 14 properties, and of all those 14 properties, only one of them was still available. They sent me properties that had gone on foreclosure, were not even on the market. The foreclosure happened about a month ago. So that property is not on the market yet. I don't know where they're looking, but they're finding information for properties that are not on the market. Some of the other ones were already under contract. There was only one out of 14 properties that actually was on the market. So I had to call him, and I don't know if you guys use Duo, but I use Duo because it's easy. And I said to him, "You're driving me crazy. All of these properties you're sending me are not on the market except for one. Take a look at the list I sent you through the multiple listing service, which has the most updated information for properties that are actually on the market." So he told me he was actually thinking he was helping by looking on his own. I said, "No, you are looking at incorrect information." Excuse me. Properties that are not even available for sale. 89% of buyers do purchase through real estate agents, and only 5% purchase through a builder, and these are new construction. So we are still very valuable in the transaction, and we need to express that to our clients. 80% of recent buyers financed their home purchase. So it would be crazy for us to not have the conversation about being pre-approved for a mortgage. And we have, I know that mortgage loan officers are going crazy right now with a lot of refinancing and a lot of purchase offers, but we have trusted professionals in our network that we can call upon to pre-approve people. We also, in our buyer consultation, have to remind buyers that in the past we could contact a loan officer and within a few minutes we could have a mortgage pre-approval. But right now they are overloaded with applications. We have to explain to the buyer that they have to give enough time for the loan officer to do the pre-approval. And that is not going to be immediate. They are not the only person on earth who is trying to buy a home. And this is part of our job in the education process, in letting them know what to expect when they actually do talk or send their information to a mortgage loan officer. Aspiring buyers, 74% of current renters believe that buying a home is a good business decision, and homeownership is part of the American dream at 75%. And 81% of non-homeowners felt that they wanted to, or they said that they wanted to buy a home. So what is your unique selling proposition? Why should someone or anyone care about you or what you do? Why should they choose you over another agent? Okay, and this is where when you act differently with the buyer, you will differentiate yourself from all the other agents that they have been speaking with or looking at properties with. What is your unique story? Are you able to find off-market properties? Do you know where to go? Do you have the contacts? How do you express to the buyer that you can not only find what is on the MLS, which every other agent has, but what is your ability to find properties that are not on the market? Your local market knowledge is very important. Do you know the statistics for the specific area that you serve? The transportation for those people who commute to work, the school information, what to do in the area, what are the good restaurants? All of this information you can package into your unique selling proposition so that you can have a better advantage of reaching that buyer and earning their loyalty. So what are buyers looking for in an agent? They're looking for honesty, trustworthiness, professionalism. Is that you? They're looking for someone who cares about them and is actively looking out for their own interest. Someone who has market knowledge, someone who can help them navigate through the confusing and, in many cases, crazy real estate business and market. Someone who can give them good advice. Anybody can give advice, but good advice is priceless. That is part of your obligation as an agent, and that's what buyers are looking for. Do you have that? Okay, we do have available, especially when you take listings, the home showing guidelines that can be placed on the property. And it just shows, wash your hands before entering the home. Do not touch anything in the home. Practice social distancing and avoid physical contact, such as shaking hands. If you are ill or experiencing any symptoms, please do not enter the property. And these are good practices to have when you have a property for sale, but also to show the buyers that you really care not only about them, but about the health of the properties you are showing. I hope that this has been helpful. Again, if you have any questions about the information I shared today, do not hesitate to reach out to me at the office. And I hope to see you at the next one. Have a wonderful day, and see you next time.